Hello, friends. Welcome back. We are having a mess of a time over here today, but that is okay. We are back for another segment because we are trudging along. We are professionals. That is what we do, Teena.
That's right.
Do not mess this up this time. Gosh.
I'll try and be better.
So tired of having to take 3, take 4, because you aren't ready. It's totally my fault. Anyways, hi, welcome back. We're going to do our segment, Topic Talk. Today's conversation is going to be a very specific topic, dear and near to both of us, but it's a big topic within our community and the world, for God's sake. The world is talking about it.
Absolutely.
It is gay guys and their gals, right?
Yeah.
There is this idea that gay men and straight women make the best friends, the best friend couples. And we're here to talk about that today. That is our situation. I don't know if that's why we're best friends, but that is our situation. I am a gay man. Surprise. Teena is a straight male.
Wow.
Surprise.
I know I have a deep voice, but damn. That was...
Teena is a straight female, and we have been best friends for 35 years. So it's been a minute. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of explore this relationship and explore this topic today and see, what it is. What's it about? Let's get our thoughts on it. Do you have, well, first of all, why are we friends? Why do you think we are friends?
You and me specifically?
Why did it happen?
Because I think
why are we so
our
close?
personalities line up. We've been close pretty much right away. I mean, right away since we met.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one of those friendships that, I think the longest we've gone without speaking was probably almost a year. Like, because we've lived on other sides of the country and we've been busy with different things. And then we've always, just life. But
life be life.
But we have always been able to just kind of pick up and, with no problem. So I think we have complementary personalities because I don't think it's about being similar. Like, I think we have a lot of similar interests. But I think
we do, but we're not the same person at all. No.
But I think that, as has been demonstrated by books that you have recommended for me to read. That might be a different...
I hate you.
That might be a different topic, but he's not allowed to recommend books to me anymore.
Teena doesn't like good reading.
Okay. We're getting off topic. But anyway, so I just think that we've always gotten along really well. I think that we have always communicated very well. I think we have complementary personalities. There's things that you're good at that I'm not, and probably vice versa. And so I just, I don't know. I just really like you. So.
Oh, that's nice. I like you too. Like I said before, I think we talked about this when we met in drama club. You were just this first person that was like this energy of acceptance and easy and comfort. And I wasn't out at the time, right? I was still confused. I wasn't really confused. I knew exactly what was happening. I just wasn't out at the time. And so, and I was in a new school and this and that, and you were very friendly and warm. And then we did just click. I don't know why we did. We really just clicked. And I think you're right. We have complementary personalities, but we're different enough to find each other interesting, right? We don't get annoyed because we're the same person. Right. But yet you do in a weird way understand the way my brain works very, very specifically. Which is
and I think the same can be said about you because I'm a little all over the place sometimes. And you're usually right there with me. You understand where I'm going or where I'm coming from. So it's always nice.
It's because I'm used to going like this and trying to figure out life in general. It's because my brain works the same way. But there's a lot of talk. There's not a lot of talk. There have been studies and things, conversations about this relationship. Our generation, Gen X, really celebrated that relationship in pop culture. If you remember my best friend's wedding with Julia Roberts and My So-Called Life with that television series that lasted for a season. There was that relationship on there. And then, of course, Will and Grace, right? Will and Grace came along. And there has been a tradition of this relationship within our community. But there's also, it was called a different thing at one point. And we all know the words. I'm not offended by them, but I don't like saying the words because I find it offensive for the friend, for the woman.
Is it the one that has hag in it?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
just want to make sure we're on the same page.
The first word doesn't bother me as a queer man. I've reclaimed that word. I don't use it. I don't like it, particularly because it was hurled at me too many times as a child and as a teenager. But I am not offended when I hear a queer person use that word to describe something in their life. It is still a no word for heterosexuals. I'm sorry, it just is. So, but what always offended me about that term was the hag at the end of it. And you're so much more than a hag, which is
Aw.
a ridiculous term. I think the best I could do, really. You're just so much more than a hag.
That's good. Yeah.
I have two very close female friends in my life. You are by far the oldest, the silent generation member that you are. You are
damn
so much older. No, Patty's actually older than us. But you're my longest held friend, and Patty is right there behind you. And never have I ever even come close to having a relationship with a male friend that has lasted this long, or been this close, or been this intimate, or whatever. And there's a lot of interesting thought on why that is. And I found an article I'd like to share with you, if you don't mind, a little bit of it. So this article was basically saying that it boils down to, despite being, quote, this is from Scientific American, despite being sexually attracted to the same gender, i.e. men, gay men and straight women are neither potential romantic partners nor mating competition for each other.
Right.
They are thus uniquely positioned to provide one another with mating-relevant advice and support that is not tainted with ulterior motives born from intrasexual rivalry or competition.
Yeah.
What?
I know. Well, I've never.
Right.
So before you started, I've been listening to you, but I've been kind of digesting a little bit and thinking, like, why are we friends? And I don't think the fact that, before you read that to me, I didn't think the fact that you were gay and I was straight had anything to do with it, but it might play some of it, because like you were saying, there's no competition between us, right? We are attracted to the same sex, but there's, I'm not trying to hit on men who are who are only interested in men, right?
Right.
And you're not trying to hit on straight men. So,
right.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Not today. Just kidding. That's just kidding. I've never understood that. We'll talk about that another time. I don't hit on straight men. But see, I wasn't even gay. I wasn't officially out when I met you, right? So how does that play? Well, of course, the vibes were there. I think you probably on subconscious level knew that I was probably safe and there was no ulterior motives. And this study went on to talk about the experiments they did. So either this study or the other talked about the experiments they did to kind of come up with this information. And they took a group of 80 undergraduate women and gave them the following scenario, which basically said, you're going to a party and your roommate, who you're going with, gets sick and last minute and can't go, but they recommend you go with someone else, this neighbor, who's age appropriate. And this neighbor is either A, B, or C, a gay man, a straight man, or a straight woman. And all three of them are named Jordan. And so they create these fake Facebook profiles. The man is the same picture in both. So there's no just like, oh, he was hotter than the other, that's why I got chosen. It was all pretty good neutral.
They tried to take all of the variables out as much as they could. Right.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And overwhelmingly, they would ask questions like, do you trust his advice when it comes to this? Would you trust this person's advice when it comes to this? Would you trust yourself in this situation with this person? All these kind of questions. And the woman who got the gay Jordan, the gay man, overwhelmingly and very highly marked safety, security, trustworthiness, all these other things over both the straight man, which I understood completely, but the straight woman too, which I was like, really?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then that piece of that right there said competition, and I was like, oh, of course. Yeah. There's much like there will always be a sexual underlying something between straight men and straight women. I think with women in general, straight women, there might always be a conflict if the potential for competition is never resolved, I guess, right? I mean, I don't know.
It's not just the competition for men. So if you have two single women friends, it's not that I don't think that women can be friends on a deep level, because I believe that they truly can. But I do believe you're right, that there can be problems when maybe both of them are interested in the same man, or also in other ways, job related stuff, successful related stuff. And I think that society, maybe the patriarchy, whatever you want to call it, has kind of engineered it so that women are naturally competitive with each other. I think it takes a little extra work sometimes for some people. Some people don't. I don't generally feel competitive with other women, but also I've been married for almost 30 years. So you know what I mean? I'm not interested in all of that anymore. Like I got my man. He's taking a nap right now, like an old grandpa.
Like you should. Yeah. Like you should. You actually, but I mean, to be fair, you didn't go through that Sex in the City style, that Sex in the City life, true. Right? In your 20s with women out in the clubs looking for the man and all that. You married your husband and in your early 20s, right? How old were you?
24. I was 24 when I got. Do I remember? No, it was so old.
24. That's actually that's not too young. That's very good. That's a very perfect age to get married.
I think so.
Anyways, I thought so too, because you also did it right because you didn't have kids right away, which was
we
the smart
waited
choice.
for a long time.
Yeah. But so I wonder if it would be a little bit different for women who are out there dating in the dating pool. If you're single in your 30s, is it harder to have a relationship with a single woman also in her 30s who might be in the same competition pool?
I mean, I just can see. I'm sure that there are relationships. I'm sure there are people that are gonna listen to this and go, "That's BS. I have friends."
That's you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I totally. And I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying I understand the competitiveness between women, especially, sometimes you'll have, if two women want the same things in life, maybe they want to get married, they want to have a family. I think they're higher probably for competition than if you have one that's like, I'm never getting married, I'm never having kids. And then the other one's like, oh, I want to get me whatever. But I honestly think when you were talking about how they rated high for security and all of that stuff, I think women truly want to be able to be friends with men, but they can't be because, not they can't be, but you know what I mean? Like it's difficult because there is that underlying, one of the two of them is going to want to maybe develop feelings for the other one. And that does make it hard. And I've had lots of fun with, you're my best friend, but I've had other gay male friends, and it's just always so comfortable, and you can have fun, and you don't have to worry about, if you're drinking and somebody's going to take advantage of you, or, you know what I mean? And so you can just kind of be yourself and enjoy yourself and not have to worry as much as if you're in a mixed group.
I mean, sometimes, we all have different experiences perceiving reality, right? And as a queer man, you're not going to understand what I'm going through. But as a woman, I will never understand what you're going through. I can't imagine the just the constant, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful all the time. I mean, I get it. The man is something to very much be careful of. But what that just must put you under, like, it's incredible. I can't imagine living like that all the time. I certainly have experienced degrees of it, but not to the extent that women have.
And I think it's kind of a sad commentary, but I don't think about it anymore. Sure. But it's funny because
you're just so used to it.
Jack and I will be somewhere at night, like we'll be walking to the car or whatever, and I'm very aware of my surroundings. And I remember one time we had stopped by the car and we were talking, and we were facing each other, and there was a man coming towards us. It was kind of the parking lot was kind of deserted. I mean, it was just him and I, and then I think there was a couple other cars around, but we were standing there talking, and this guy's walking, and I stepped so I could look over his shoulder and see this guy. Right. Because I don't know who this man is. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I remember him asking me, he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to keep an eye on this person that's walking towards us. And the guy ended up, no big deal. He kept walking. He walked right past us. And he was like, what are you so worked up about? And I'm like, a strange man is in an area and it's dark. And he goes, I'm here. And I'm like, yeah, but what if he has a gun? Like it's about constantly being aware of your surroundings and about constantly trying not to make eye contact with strange men, because there's this whole thing where guys will only be nice. And I read this somewhere, and I don't know if it was a study or what, but that straight men will be nice to people they're attracted to, and women will be nice to everyone. And so when a woman is nice to a man, the man assumes, oh, it's because she wants me. And so you have to walk that line where you can't be mean or rude, because that's a whole other thing. You don't know who's going to hurt you. And you can't be too nice either.
No, because then on the flip side, I hear stories about women who say, well, I didn't want to be rude, so I went and talked to him, or I went on a date with him because he, or whatever. And well, you know what, ladies, be rude.
No, absolutely.
Be rude. Jeez,
yes.
Louise, that's so scary. That's just so scary. I will tell you this, though, that I understand the gay man in me didn't quite recognize that until one day I was in Manhattan in a subway tunnel. And I've always very much been aware of the fact that I'm 6'3" and I'm a very big guy. And when I'm walking down the street late at night in Manhattan, if a woman turned the corner and was on my side of the street, I would very often cross to the other side of the street just so that she wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Same idea on a subway train. I wouldn't want to sit next to a strange woman who was sitting by herself. I would walk to the other end of the car.
Bless you for that. I'm sure you've made many women feel comfortable because you were conscious of that.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's just something that's like, I also then don't want to sit there being like, looked at the whole time, like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, everyone's
grips her purse and pulls it in.
Right. Again, don't blame her. Don't blame her at all. But so to reassure this is what I do. Well, one day I was walking down the platform and this woman was coming towards me. I mean, she didn't do or say anything, but what caught my attention was her sweater. It was the ugliest sweater I had ever seen in my entire life. It had these huge plastic buttons all over it that seemed to have an intention, but I couldn't figure out what they were for or why they were supposedly a pattern or what. And I mean, they were just weird and all over. And I'm walking up, literally walking towards her, looking down at her sweater with a look, and I can't stop looking at her sweater. And I finally bring my eyes up to her face, and she is killing me with her eyes. She is shooting me daggers. She's giving me the most vicious, disgusted face as she walks past me. And I go, oh my God. Because I suddenly realized it looked like
You're checking her out.
I was staring at her chest the whole time and just ogling her and looking and da-da-da-da-da. And the minute I realized that, I was like, I can't get mad. I can't get mad because she thought that, you know, I am a strange man to her. She doesn't know me. You know, there's a very funny TikTok video where a guy he's filming himself and he encounters a woman walking down the building. And he goes, I like your outfit. And she goes, thanks. And he goes, no, girl, I like your outfit. You look really cute. Turns it all gay. And she's like, oh, thanks. You know, it's like, you're good.
Yeah, because, you know.
Turned on the gay. And the woman was like, oh, okay, great.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there are, you know, there's downsides too, right? Like if you ever had where you had like a woman hit on you and you had to be like, no, I'm not interested. I mean, I'm sure you have. You're a pretty good looking guy. So it's not, you know.
Well, thank you. I mean, everyone hits on me all the time. What are you talking about? No.
Beating them off with a stick.
If people only knew how funny that was, because I am such not that person, but I
not
pretend
very,
to be all the time.
And as a side note, you're not very approachable. And I know you take that as a compliment. I know you do. But you, when you're just existing, like you said, you're 6'3", and you have this look on your face, like you're like
don't
mean mugging. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, you're not. You don't give off the big old teddy bear vibe.
No, and I wasn't about to start, so that's why I would walk across the street from the woman or go around the corner or just like, you know. But anyways, yeah, I did have an experience like that once. I've had, you know, girls love to flirt and hit on and kiss and dance with the gay guys.
And it's safe again, all the time.
Yeah. And in your 20s, everyone's doing it. The amount of women I've made out with on the dance floor, in a drunken room, in a party, you know, like just whatever. So I've had those experiences, but then I had a friend who was very close to me for a couple of years, and she basically cornered me one night. But she socially cornered me in my own home where she was staying for the time, and was like, hi, and then let's talk about this, and just kind of confessed these love feelings for me, but like wouldn't just tell me. She made me pull it out of her, and anyways, it was incredibly awkward. I wasn't flattered. In fact, I got quite offended by it because I had never been anything but completely honest with what I was, who I was, who she was, any of that stuff. I was not sexually attracted to women. She knew that, and yet she disregarded it and told me anyways. Now, I understand feelings are feelings, and you have to express yourself and all of that stuff, and I get that 100%. I just felt very much like this is not nearly as sweet as you think it is. This is not nearly as fun or attractive as you think it is. It's kind of off-putting and a little aggressive in a way.
Yeah.
It was like she was saying, I know who you are, but disregard everything for me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, delusional a little bit, you know. It was weird. So anyways, that's happened one time, and it was what it was. But
you know, I think people, I don't know, and I guess my experience is only with men, and actually because I've been married for so long, is usually seeing that dynamic play out with friends of mine and men. But it's a sense of, well, I know that you say you don't like this, but I'm going to change your mind. I know that you wouldn't normally do this, but if I can get you to do it for me, that's just going to prove how special I am. Right. Yep. And so I think 100%. I think that whether that was a conscious thing for her or not, how exciting would that have been? She had all these feelings for you. And if you would, and I bet in her head, you know, like you said, it wasn't as cute as she thought it was, because she's thinking that at least at some point it played out like you were going to say, you know, normally, but I like you so much, let's give it a shot. Something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. A romance would ensue. Right. So now you're talking about and getting into this kind of fetishizing of a relationship like that, right? Straight men have been known to do it forever, right? They love seeing, some of them, not all, but some straight men love to see two women together, or love to have convince their girlfriend to do it with a woman for the first time for them. There's all this kind of, and it turns out that straight women, a lot of them, also still have the similar ideas and fetishizing for gay men, for seeing two men together. So there's definitely something to that. And I think there's definitely something to the idea that she thought it would be hot as hell. And I do. Yeah. I think that's not because it was me, but because it was that relationship.
Maybe,
like she had converted me. She had turned me, you know? Maybe it was because of me. I don't know. But it was, it was not, and we didn't recover really for a long time. It was a hard thing to get past. And then years later, I kind of ran into her again in life and it was you know, fine. But yeah, it was awkward. It was very awkward. Have you ever had feelings for, you've never really had feelings for a gay man. I mean, you thought I was cute. I know that.
First of all.
You've never had feelings for a gay man in life, have you? Because
I have.
Been dating your husband forever.
Yes, but here's the thing. And I think then this kind of goes back to the feelings of being safe and of being treated more like an equal. Because I think part of what the relationship between a gay man and a straight woman is that it's more of an equal footing, right? Whereas sometimes straight men want to be the one that's, you know, they're the alpha male or they're the one in charge or whatever. And some women are into that. And in certain situations, I am also into that, but not all of them.
Of course. Hello.
But anyway, so, you know, so I think there was lots of people that, like, looking back, that I had crushes on, like, in high school, and you were one of them. I had a crush on you in high school, and we talked about this before too. And I could name like 4 others, and it turned, and then later on you find out all these guys were gay, and I'm like, what is it with me? But that's what it was. It was that comfortable friendship. It was that, you know, because I think when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for someone that you want to be with. It's not just personality, right? But it's like an overall how they make you feel. And so not only did all of these people have, you know, great personalities and we got along as friends really well, but I didn't feel talked down to. I felt like we were equals. I felt like, you know, my opinion mattered to them, all of the things that you kind of look for. Right. And so I did. I have never, I can honestly say I've never known somebody was not into women and then like, hey, you know, no, I've never done that. But it doesn't stop me from, you know, being like, that guy's super hot. And then someone will go, well, he's gay. Well, I don't care. I'm never going to meet him. You know, actors and stuff like that. I'm like, well, it's not like I have a shot anyway.
That's not the point. The point is he's hot.
Yeah, I can still look and appreciate, and it's fine.
Agreed. Agreed. People can be beautiful. It's fun to look at beautiful things. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, this is a really cool topic. I'm glad we talked about it. It's part of us. It is what we are. You know, it's part of it. But it also isn't a defining aspect of our relationship either. I think we kind of got way past that early on, because I think at some point that only takes you so far, and then you either have to develop the friendship to last or it fades away, right? So ours lasted 35 years, going strong.
That's right.
We'll see how we end up at the end of this podcast these days.
I think I'll probably still love you. I don't know. It's like I can't get rid of you at this point. Too ingrained.
I can. Watch this. Bye.
Mean.
Just shut you down. All right, well, let's wrap this up, because who wants to listen to us anymore talk about this topic? We are fun. If you have any comments or thoughts about this topic, let us know in the comments below.
Absolutely.
And you know, if you have disagreements about it, you can share them. I don't really care to hear them. No, I'm just kidding. You can share them, and we can talk about it.
Maybe something we missed or something that we didn't think about. I'm sure that this is it's very nuanced, and everybody's relationship with another person is different, you know. So please, you know, share your thoughts. If there's anything that we missed, maybe something we didn't consider, love to hear about it.
And tell us about your experience if you have a best gay friend, a best gal, or what have you. We will see you again on the next topic. Bye. Hello, friends. Welcome back to our show. Are you enjoying yourself today, Teena? Are you having fun?
I am having fun. I'm always having fun. I know sometimes I look like I just showed up like, do. Here I am. Tell me what's going on.
Oh, are we filming today? Oh my God! Hi. No, not at all.
Man. But yeah, I'm having.
Well, good. I'm glad you're having fun. You know, we're gonna do a new segment now, and this really is a new segment. We've been talking about things for so long, but this one actually is a new segment, and we're gonna include it in our format for the coming episodes. I think it's important for us to do a little bit of a flashback segment. Yeah. We are Generation X, right? Generation X has points of view, has a lifestyle, has everything else that you can imagine. And we don't talk about it too much on this
Right.
pod. So I think we should introduce that a little bit and throw it back to our days, our glory days. So today I thought we would talk about a topic that hasn't really been heard since the 80s, but it was certainly part of Generation X. So let's talk about the latchkey kid.
Ooh.
The latchkey kid. Do you remember that term?
I do remember that term. So
what do you know about it?
Latchkey kids were kids who had to go home, and they went home to an empty house because their parents both worked, or maybe they had a single mom or single dad situation. And they had their key. Their key usually was somewhere they weren't going to lose it, especially if they were younger, so 6, 7, 8 years old. So around their necklace or tied to the inside of their backpack or something. And then they were to go in, you always got very specific instructions. You come into the house, you lock the door behind you. You can have a snack. Do not turn on the oven. Do not answer the phone. And you can watch TV.
Answer the door if anyone comes.
Don't answer the door if anybody comes. You can watch TV and work and do your homework. And that was it. And then usually your parent, everybody's situation was different, but usually the parents would be home about dinner time and then everything else. Right. But you had that time on your own. And I think the kids that experienced that in our generation, I just think they grew up a little quicker, yes, but I think they just were more independent.
Definitely.
So what was your experience with that?
Well, I was 100% a latchkey kid. I was right there from the get-go. I was probably... I remember walking home in 6th grade. I have visual memory of walking home in 5th grade. Also, I think... what am I saying? I think I definitely walked home during those times. But during 5th grade, I think is when the latchkey part started. I was raised by a single mom she had 2 kids, me and my brother, and my brother's a year and a half behind me. And so I was probably, I don't know, what is 5th or 6th grade? Is that, I don't even know, 10,
somewhere
11?
Around there, yeah.
8? I don't know, whatever that is. And I had to walk home 2 miles probably from our school. We would walk out the back of the school, cross, we lived in the desert at the time. In the 80s, there was nothing. It's all developed now, but you could literally walk out the back of the school and you were in what we call a wash, which is a big, dry desert ditch that fills with flood water when it needs to. And you walk across the wash to just several blocks for a couple miles to your house. And we would get home probably around 2:30. My mother wouldn't get home until around 5:30. I was responsible for getting my brother situated, but we didn't really, I didn't take that responsibility too seriously because he was pretty sustaining at that age. He came in and got a snack. We got a snack. We sat down and watched cartoons, and that was pretty much it. We weren't allowed to leave. We weren't allowed to talk on the phone. We could not start the stove. We couldn't do any of that stuff. And we sat and watched TV and did homework until our mom came home. And we never, ever, ever had a problem. I broke the sliding glass door one time because I kicked it on accident, It was when we got older and we were teenagers, my brother and I would fight like dogs. And that was when we really couldn't be left alone. But when we were younger, we were fine.
When you were 6 and 9, you were fine. But when you became 16 and 16, it was like, whoa.
It was a different time. I don't really know if I have any negative feelings about it. I have some information here about the psychological ramifications of the latchkey kid life, of course. But before we go down that route, let me tell you this. Do you know where the term latchkey comes from? Obviously, we know what it means, but do you know where it comes from?
I don't know where it comes from.
Why they're using it? It comes from Canada. Canada, of all places. The term refers to the latchkey of a door to a house or an apartment, right? Which we know. The key is often strung around the child's neck or left hidden under a mat, like you said. The term seems first to appear in a CBC radio program called Discussion Club. Topic: How War Affects Canadian Children in 1942. So, due to the phenomenon of children being left home alone during World War II, when the father was enlisted and the mother had to go out and get a job, this group that's talking about, let's see, what did they say? Given the fact that the show, the Discussion Club participants are all familiar with the term, it alludes to it being a colloquial usage that's been in use since at least 1942. Which I was like, wow, we didn't hear about it until the 80s, but it was a term coined in 1942 because of children affected by war. Same exact idea. They would end up home alone until the mother came home from school. And then, of course, the 80s came up and we had all these, latchkey kids doing what they do. And the question became, what happens to these children? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this what's going to happen? Well, it's been 40 years or so. It's been a long time. And there is some evidence to suggest that latchkey kids did grow up more independent. They did grow up more self-reliant. However, it was probably at the expense of some social adjustments. They don't have as much self-esteem, which I found really fascinating. They have trust issues. They may resent their parents and resent being the resentment of being forced to grow up too fast. And they have, let's see what it said here. If the children experience latchkey life during their early teens, there's a greater susceptibility to peer pressure, potentially resulting in such behavior as alcohol abuse, drug abuse, sexual promiscuity, and smoking. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened to me. I did not have those problems, but I was a latchkey kid, and they're saying that some of us may have fallen into peer pressure a bit more. If it happened to younger students, middle school students, which is where Eric and I were, they have higher reported levels of behavioral problems, higher rates of depression, and lower levels of self-esteem. Fascinating. I don't know if I agree with any of that. I mean, I do, but like, I wasn't traumatized by being a latchkey kid. I remember the first time doing it being nervous, no doubt, for sure. But I was kind of excited about it. You know, there was going to be no one there. It was just kind of...
Yeah, and I'll say mine was a little different. So I wasn't so much a latchkey kid in that we came home from school and nobody was there and whatever. But I did get left alone a lot. So it was more of I'm going to run to the store. I'll be back, or I have to go here, or I have to go there. So probably the same amount of time, between an hour and 2 hours, depending on what was going on, in the not answering the phone, or if it's an emergency, I'll call, let it ring once, hang up, call back, or, whatever it was. So I don't know about that. I do know that it's interesting to say that there's mental health issues related to this, because our generation was the one that's like, what's mental health issues? It was like, walk it off. You're fine. Suck it up. What are you crying over? Do you want me to give you something to cry about?
Walk it off.
Yeah, it's just, we didn't, there wasn't a lot of that. I think it's great the way the younger generations are embracing that kind of stuff and being like, hey, this is not okay. Where we were just basically like, suck it up. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Suck it up.
And we don't want to hear you bitch about it. With my family, it was, there's other people with bigger problems. There's not, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. You
think you got it so bad. Yeah. And I think that's why one of the things I say sometimes is like, if something happens and someone's like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? If that's the worst thing that happens to me, it's still a pretty good day. That's right. We do. We as a generation have a very specific view on life. It can always be worse. We have seen it be worse, and if this is the worst it's going to be, that's great. We are. In fact, this says right here in 2004 there was a marketing study done with members of Generation X who claimed that we went through our all-important formative years as one of the least parented, least nurtured generations in U.S. history. Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely correct.
And I think the least nurtured really hits the nail on the head, because I have really gone out of my way to do things differently with my children. And not that my parents did the best they could with what they had, right? And so when you know better, you do better, and all of that stuff. Right. But we weren't very lovey-dovey as a family. I can't even remember ever one time my mom telling me she loved me. I know she did, but I can't pull that out of my memory anywhere. I'm sure it happened a lot more when I was little. And then as I got older, I mean, I haven't heard her say that to me in years. But to be fair, I haven't said it to her in years either. You know what I mean? So,
okay.
And it's not that I don't love her. I do love her, but we just don't talk like that. And it was never, hey, you're doing a good job, or I'm so proud of you. I mean, we didn't get talked to like that. And so, I honestly can't remember getting a lot of support when I did extracurricular activities. My parents didn't come to that stuff. It wasn't a big family affair. Wow. It wasn't. But I made a point to do all of those things for my kids, and not necessarily to like overcall them, but my kids know I love them, and I tell them regularly, and I'll tell them sometimes, and they're like, yes, we know. I'm like, did I tell you I loved you today? They're like, already 4 times, stop, and I'm like, okay, but I just want you to know. And, and so when they have things, my kids are like, you don't have to come. Jackson was going to do something with robots. It ended up not working out, but I'm like, when is it? I want to go. I want to go see. He's like, you don't have to come. And I'm like, I don't have to come, but I want to come, So there's things that I definitely did differently, and not that I feel ripped off as a child, but I know how it would have made me feel if I would have gotten a little bit more of that. And so I wanted to make sure that my kids felt that way. So I definitely would say least coddled, least nurtured. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they ever experience latchkey kid or a version of that themselves? How old were they when you started leaving them alone to take care of themselves for, hour or two or whatever it was?
Older, definitely. Because the way that it worked out was that my kids always had my mother-in-law to go to when they were younger. So they went to elementary school, literally a block from her house. She could step out onto her lawn. Yeah, she could step out on her lawn and see them leaving the school grounds and coming to her house. So it wasn't really necessary. They did get left, I would say, probably 10, 11 by the first time I'm like, I'm going to run out real quick and I'll be right back. And I stressed out about it the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to come back and the house is going to be on fire. But now, I mean, I'd say for the last 2 or 3 years, they can stay overnight by themselves. They're very self-sufficient.
Well,
they're
30 now.
But they get along well enough to make sure that they eat and they take care of stuff. Is the house clean when I come home? No, but they've eaten, and
it wouldn't be if it were their own house either. If that makes you feel any better. If they lived on their own, it wouldn't be clean either. So
it is true.
Remember my junior year, my dad was getting divorced, and he was working out of town 5 days a week and was only home on the weekends. And so my brother and I, my entire junior year, Eric was a freshman, I was a junior, lived alone Monday through Friday. My dad left Monday morning, came back Friday night. And with money on the counter to buy food and take care of things for the week. And we did it for an entire year. Almost. And, we had a blast. We had so much fun during that time. I had a great time.
We really did.
And Eric had a great time too. But we were good kids. Eric went to school. I didn't, until it was brought to my attention that literally if you don't finish school, you're not ever leaving here. You're not going to graduate. And I was like, God, if you don't start showing up to school, you're not going to graduate. But yeah, we had a blast doing that. And so I've always been very, very independent. I've always been very, self-assured, willing to take care of myself, all these things. I think it all came from those experiences as a kid. But do I think there was some, some things that were neglected because of it? Yes, absolutely. I do. Yeah, absolutely. But, we were a generation that went through it. Here we are today.
And the nurturing.
High rates of anxiety and depression.
Yeah, exactly. The nurturing, undiagnosed ADHD because no one was paying attention to me.
That's right. Anxiety. Hello.
But yeah, so we, I think where it came through the most as far as the non-nurturing or the non, where everybody says nobody cared about us, but it was the playing outside. So I don't know if you had that same experience, but we were, on the weekends or even in the evenings when we got home from school, it was, you guys need to go outside and stay outside. None of this running back and forth. We're not paying to put AC out into the whole world or whatever the excuse was. But we would disappear for hours on a Saturday. Are you kidding me? And not be seen. We'd just be left to our own devices. And so that was, it was fun, but it was also kind of not at the same time, depending on the situation, because, it wasn't just us. It was our whole generation of kids that were all thrown out. And so there's just bands of kids roaming the neighborhoods. And sometimes your bully was out there. And sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it was all cool.
Yeah, so there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
I didn't, we certainly experienced that in that when we would be out, you had to be home by the time the streetlights came on. We lived in an apartment complex, huge apartment complex at one point. And that's kind of when my memory starts of coming home when the lights were on. But we weren't of the household that said you had to get out and stay out. I had friends like that, and that always made me incredibly uncomfortable.
Really?
Like, they're, oh no, we can't go inside. We're not allowed inside. And I was like, you're not allowed inside? Like, I had friends whose mom was like, door is locked. You're not coming back in until.
Yes.
Really? That makes me so sad and uncomfortable.
My parents didn't lock the door, but Jack grew up, with his cousins. Right. So him and his brother are like 9 years apart. So when he was younger, he grew up with his cousins, and his aunt would put them out of the house, lock the door. So if they needed to use the bathroom, too bad. Right. So because they're boys, they could just pee in the backyard or whatever. I don't know. Right, so what they would do, he told me, is they would leave his cousins, because one of his cousins had a bottom floor, because it was a 2-story house. One of them had a bottom floor bedroom and one of them had an upstairs bedroom. And so the bottom floor room, before they went out for the day, they would crack the window so they could come in, go to the bathroom, and then they'd go back out. But yeah, that was it. The doors were locked.
Yeah,
that was the parents alone time.
That's just like, what an awful. You're not allowed in your own home. There's nothing
we didn't really
safe.
Think about that like that.
I think I did though. I remember my one friend named Doug, who that happened to. I remember being like,
"Are you okay,
uncomfortable and scared about this?" I was like, "You're not allowed." He's like, "No, we'll be out here for." I was like, "For like 6 more hours, or whatever it was."
Yeah, you could go home for lunch and then you were kicked back out again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely did not experience that, but I did experience the go out, come home before the lights are on, just be gone for.
Why do you think so many of us drank out of the hose? We weren't allowed to go inside and get something to drink.
That's our only option. Had
Turn
no
that
choice.
hose on. You gotta let it run for a little while because it's hot initially when it first comes out. But after a few minutes, after I don't know, 30, 45 seconds, then it's cold and you can take a nice good long drink.
Exactly. Oh, wow. All right. Well, I think that's a lovely trip down memory lane. It's time for us to get out of the Wayback Machine and come back to reality. But I think we should do this segment every week. Not this segment, no, but I think we should do a nostalgia thing. I think next podcast we're going to talk about maybe what did we used to do for fun in the 80s that isn't around anymore. Do you remember lawn darts?
I do not remember lawn darts, but Jack has a story about how he almost killed one of his cousins.
Yes, of course he did. Either on purpose or on accident. We'll never know.
No, we know. It was on purpose.
We definitely know. Yeah. Things like that. Things that were weapons. We'll talk about things that were fun, like arcades and roller skating and all those kinds of things. So we're gonna incorporate some of the
running through the sprinklers. Nostalgia. Do people do that anymore?
Slip and slides. Do you remember the concussions?
I do, but I'm talking about just putting the sprinklers on and running through. One of those sprinkler things that did this back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just fun to go hop.
Yeah. Oh God, hop, we didn't.
Up.
The ability to entertain ourselves. We'll talk about it later, but the ability to entertain ourselves does not exist today. I don't think.
Oh my God, these kids today. Oh my God, did I really say that? They wouldn't know what to do if the power went out. For good. Like they just wouldn't, they would lose their mind and we'd be out playing in the mud.
Probably 2 or 3 times a year the power goes out and we're just like, okay, but it's not out for very long. But my kids will usually come out and go, great, now we got to talk to each other. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
Now you do. In fact, speaking of your kids, we'll see you at the next segment, which is The Adventures of Being Teena.
Bye.
It's Teena's turn to talk now.
And welcome back. And now we get to talk about my favorite topic, moi. No, today I want to talk about my youngest son, whom I love. And I don't know if it's going to, I don't know if it's going to seem like that when I'm done talking, but so he is, I'm just kidding. So he's always been, Jack and I have always referred to him as our little old man. Because even at a very young age, and I'm going to send, I'm going to have you put a picture on here so everybody can see. This is this picture right here. One of my favorite pictures of him ever. He's 4 years old in this picture, drinking his Kool-Aid, and he's got a look on his face that says, I wish these kids would get off my lawn.
Yes, he does. He absolutely
does. That sums him up wholly. He's always been a little curmudgeon. I love him. And he's whip smart. Yeah. But I remember, so we bought a Dodge Challenger, and for those of you not familiar with that car, the back windows are just little triangles or little circles or whatever shape it is, but they're just tiny, and it's not like a 4-door car where everybody has their own window, right? It's a 2-door car. And so I remember we took the kids for a ride in it, and Jackson, his first complaint was the music was too loud. Could you turn the music down? I can't hear. And we're like, okay. And then we get it.
You haven't established that Jackson is your son's name.
Oh, sorry.
By the way, your youngest son's name is Jackson. My son's name is
Jackson. Let's establish that. Yes. So Jackson. But Jackson was like, turn the music down. I can't hear. And we're like, okay, Grandpa. And then when he got out of the car, we went for a ride in our new car, and we're like, how'd you like the car? And he goes, I don't like that I have to climb over that seat. And I'm like, first of all, you're 6. Calm down. Second of all, I mean, it's not like you're, a 6'5", 300-pound man trying to get in the back seat climbing over, he's a 6-year-old. But anyway, and he also didn't like that you couldn't see out the windows. So we told him, well, when you buy a car, you can definitely buy a 4-door car. You
have all the windows you want.
You can buy a car made of windows. But there was another time when we were in Las Vegas, and we've always tried to let our kids be independent, so as soon as they could, we would let them order for themselves. And it was just like, tell them what you want. Sometimes even when they were littler and they couldn't really read, we would read it to them and then be like, what do you want? Okay, when the waitress comes, make sure you tell her. So he could read though. So we were in Vegas at some little diner getting ready to get breakfast, and Jackson wanted the menu, wanted to hold the menu. Because I said, well, I'll share my menu with you. He's like, I want my own menu. I'm like, okay. Gave him a menu. It wasn't even like it was fancy. There were paper menus, you know, they bring out, they can throw them away if they get dirty.
Yeah.
But he saw, it said, so what it said was pancakes, and he loves pancakes. And it said $6 pancakes, $4. And he was like, I'm going to get the $6 pancakes for $4. That's a deal. And I was like, I don't think that's what that is, Jackson. I think it's dollar pancakes. You know, the dollar pancakes that are about that big. And he would not hear it. No, it says $6 pancakes for $4. And I was like, okay, you know what? Order what you want. You know, and he argued with me, and we were like, okay, fine. We tried to tell him. So then the waitress, you know, waitress comes over, takes our order. He orders his $6 pancakes for $4. And she leaves. She comes back with our food, puts it down in front of us, puts down his $6 size pancakes. And that's all it is. $4, but you get 6 little tiny pancakes. She puts the plate down in front of him, and he looks at it. He goes, this is all I get for $4? And I was like, but he was so mad. We tried to tell him, but he didn't want to hear it. Also, so I used to pack the kids' lunches. And like we've talked about before, my kids used to go to school, where they used to go to school was literally a block away from my mother-in-law's house.
Right.
So I would drop them off usually earlier than they needed to be dropped off. And then because I had to go to work, you know, and so then they would walk from there. So I would pack their lunches, get them ready to go. And then at the evenings when I picked them up, they were supposed to unpack their lunches. So throw away any trash, anything like that. And I had a really bad problem with them not eating their potato chips and then putting an open bag of potato chips back in their lunch bag. And so then they shake it around, and then you know how hard it is to clean the insides of those lunch bags? It's just a pain in the butt. It's not like I can throw it in the wash machine, you know?
Right.
So I finally thought I had broken them of this habit of putting these half-eaten bags of chips back in their lunch bags. This particular morning, I pull their lunch bags out and I open it up, and my kids are sitting at the table eating breakfast. And I open up Jackson's lunch bag and I go, Jackson, why do you have an open bag of potato chips in your bag? We've gone through this. He goes, oh, I needed to save those so I could call the number on the back of the bag. And I was like, I'm sorry, one more time. He goes, yeah. He goes, I opened that bag of chips, Mom. And it was the regular ones, you know, you buy for lunches. They come in a variety pack. That's a little bag of chips. He goes, I opened that bag. There were 9 chips. 9 chips. And I go, okay. He goes, I was going to call the 800 number and tell. I go, what did you want them to do for you? He's like, I don't know, but they need to know because that's not okay.
He's right. That's not okay. 9 chips. Oh, and how old was he? What grade was this? 7.
Yeah, he was 7. He had a fit about the pancakes. I know.
You need to have him do a past life regression therapy at some point and see kind of life he's had in the past.
He is just, he's very literal and very serious. So I remember when he was like, I think it was 4 years old, he argued with Jack. This was a little logic argument with Jack. And he said, with his dad, he said, snakes poop poison. And Jack says, I don't think that's right, buddy. And Jackson goes, yeah, snakes poop poison. And he goes, okay. He's like, I still don't think that's right. I think they, you know, if they bite, their venom is poisonous, but I don't think it doesn't come out in their poop. And Jackson goes, well, how do they eat? And Jack's like, well, they eat through their mouth. And he goes, yeah, but how do they kill their prey? And he goes, okay, well, with the poison. He goes, right. They inject poison into their prey. They eat it. Then they poop it out. And I was like, he's got you there.
Done.
He was
science. 4. Because science. Wow.
It just,
that is hysterical.
And at that moment, I was like, these kids are too smart for us.
We've done something terribly wrong. This is not right.
Something is horribly gone wrong.
They have always been very, very whip smart and like you say, sharp talkers. And I'm not surprised because you're a sharp talker. You know, Jack's no slouch either. Jack's a really intelligent person, but you have the gift of gab. And I don't know that either one of them talk like you do, but I certainly know that when Jackson comes out with a quip, I'm like, oh my God, As you. So, it sounds like
Mike and I have more of a sense of humor. So Jackson is way more literal. As far as if you say something, even if you're joking, if that's not correct, he will tell you that's not how that works. And I'm like, okay, settle down. But Mike and I find the same stupid things funny. So you know what I mean? So it's kind of like they get a little bit of each of it from both of us.
So if you don't mind, I may hijack the end of your segment here just a little bit and tell one of my favorite stories in The Adventures of Being Teena.
All right.
Teena and I have had many adventures together, and we laugh about a lot of things. But one of the funniest things that has ever happened to us involves her husband Jack. He was there as well. We have not stopped laughing about it. I'm going to tell this story because
I know where this is going.
Well.
As soon as you said Jack was there as well, and we can't stop laughing about it, I knew what you were talking about.
You know. The year is 1990. Actually, what was it? 97, 99? When did Titanic come out?
97.
Titanic. Can you believe that movie is like 108 years old already? What happened? All right, so let's say it was 1997. Titanic came out, and we were going to go see it. You guys were visiting me in Orange County, California. I think for some reason we were down in that area, and we were. Was it like a late night showing, or I don't even know if it was opening weekend or close to it. Regardless,
I think it opened on Christmas Day, and we went to like the 10 or 11 o'clock showing that night.
Wow, did we really? Okay, wow. So we're walking through the parking lot, and it's cold, Southern California cold. So Teena's bundled up with her sweatshirt and pants and everything else. She's got her hands in her pockets. And
I was wearing my husband's jacket.
She's wearing her husband's jacket, yes, with her hands.
This is important to the story.
Well, I don't know any of those at the time. This is what I see. This is what I know is that she got her hands shoved in her pockets because it's cold, and she's walking, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, Teena goes down, but she trips, and as she trips, she can't get her hands out of her pocket, so she's struggling, and she hits the front end of a car, turns upside down, and bounces off onto the ground. It was one of the most comical moments I have ever seen. I don't laugh at people who fall. Well, that's not true. I do laugh at people who fall, but I'm always like, oh. I could not do anything. I couldn't see if she was okay. I couldn't do anything. Her husband and I spent, I don't even know how many minutes laughing at her while she was on the ground because we could not get over the image. It was so funny. You just went from dead upright as if someone just knocked a tree over. You didn't bend, nothing. Your legs didn't. You just hit that car and bounced off of it into the gutter and laid there with your hands in your pockets. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Man.
Would you like to tell the world what happened to you that night we saw Titanic and why it's so funny? Do you have any? I mean, that's exactly what happened. You have said that the buttons got caught.
Yeah. So
trying to get your hands out of the jacket.
So first of all, it should be known that I am clumsy, and apparently that's an ADHD thing. Walking into things.
Well, now I feel bad.
No. I didn't know. I didn't know till many years later, and not trying to make that my whole personality, but apparently there are things that happen to me regularly that are because of my inability to pay attention.
I'm sorry, it's my ADHD. I'm so sorry, it's my ADHD. You're a bitch. I'm so sorry.
It's my ADHD.
Oh God, no.
But so we were walking through the parking lot, and Jack had this jacket. It was kind of like an army green color, and it had big front pockets, and it had buttons on the sleeves. And because the jacket was too big for me, the sleeves hung over my fingers, and so I had grabbed the ends of the jacket and then put my pockets in the sleeves.
Right.
I mean, put my hands in the pockets with the sleeves in my fist. And we were walking, and of course I wasn't paying attention, and I tripped actually over one of the, what are those parking blocks called? A pylon? It's not a pylon, but whatever they are. The cement parking blocks.
The parking.
And I had tripped, and as soon as my foot hit that, I knew I was going down. And so I instantly started trying to pull my hands out of my pocket so I could catch myself, and the buttons got caught on the inside of the pocket, and I couldn't get them out. And so then I was like, the only thing I could do to mitigate how hard I was going to fall was to try and fall into the car. to break my fall on the way down, still the whole time trying to yank my hands out of the pockets, and then hit the car, and then I hit it hard enough that it flipped me over on my back, and then I went straight down. And down.
And Jack and I were walking behind her, just a few feet behind her, talking, and so it happened so fast, we didn't see the struggle to get the hands out. We literally just saw her go from upright to hit the car and fall down. Like, I mean, yeah, it's, again, you probably had to see it to laugh, but we have laughed about it for, 25 years now, 30 years, whatever it is.
It's been a while.
It hasn't stopped. Teena is clumsy. Teena is all the things she says, but we love her for it, and that is one of my favorite. Next time we'll talk about hide and go seek in the dark. How about that? That's a fun one too.
I'm surprised I didn't get hurt more playing that game.
I know, psychologically hurt more. We used to try to terrify each other. We used to try to scare each other.
That'll be a fun story for later.
It will be. All right. Well, I'm glad you did this. Keep coming up with more stories. We're going to write a book one day.
Someday. Well, thank you all for listening to Adventures of Being Teena, and we will see you next time. All right, Chris. Well, that's another podcast down.
Can you believe that? That's our 6th episode.
Are you having fun? I'm having fun.
I'm having a blast, and I'm very excited. We're progressing in the right direction. We still don't have any fans. We have no viewers, one fan? No comments. Well, we have one fan. We don't know who they are. Big Ben and Bob will not reveal themselves. And our membership numbers are low. So, folks, please don't forget to subscribe if you had fun today. It really does help us out a lot. We like to spread the word and get our message out there. We don't have a message. We're just two dorks talking to each other. But, let us know.
We're having a good time. That's all that really matters.
We're having a good time. Are you having fun?
Of course I'm having fun. I can't wait to hear what are we doing next. What's up next?
Next week is going to be cool. We got a topic called psychics or psychos, and we're going to talk about mediums and psychics and what their deal is. Are they real? Are they fake? What's your experience with them? And then we're going to go in the Wayback Machine again, and we're going to do pop-up updates.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll have to tune in to see what that's about. Do you remember pop-up video on VH1?
It was VH1, yeah, but I do remember.
Pop-up video. Yeah. So we're going to take pop culture updates from things that happened in the 80s and 90s and do a little pop-up adventure, pop-up update, let you know what's going on with that. So more of the same and a lot of fun. We hope to see you all next time. We hope you join us again. Until then, my friends, have a great week. And we'll see you then.
Stay dorky.
Bye.